Okay, section 3.5, decimals and fractions as a percent. So yesterday we took a percent and changed it into a decimal. So give me a number, any number, Lauren?
45.
She says 45. So if I take 45%, everybody jot that down, 45%. Now, change it to a decimal, just like we did yesterday. 45%. And I see most people are, well, half of you look done. 45% as a decimal. Let's say it together. 3, 2, 1. Good. 0.45. So what did we just do? We moved it, not right, we moved it left. We moved it left. Okay, so when we take away percent sign, we take away 2 place values. So today we're going the other way. Today we're going to be receiving a decimal and we're changing it to a percent. So when we're going the opposite direction, when we're taking a decimal to a percent, do you see that we're adding a percent sign to this expression? So instead of subtracting place value, we are adding place values. We're adding 2 every time. Okay? So 0.52. 0.52, let's say that now as a percent. 3, 2, 1.
52%.
Good job. You added 2 place values and the percent sign. That's all you need to do to change a decimal to a percent. Adding percent sign, add 2 decimal places, and the percent sign. Sometimes. So we're going to change these to percents. So go ahead and pause the video and change it to a percent. Come back and check your work. And there you go. Wonderful answers. Each of these students moved the decimal 2 places to the right because they added a percent sign. Added 2 places. Okay, let's try taking fractions to percents. So we've talked about this a bit before. A percent is really a fraction. When you hear that word per, it means to divide. And word percenting, cent stands for what number, everyone? 100. So percents are that. There's some number over 100. That's how they could be written. A number over 100. So if we have a number like this, 135 over 1,500, this 135 is not a percent. We need to do something to this fraction so that we have 100 in the denominator. There's actually 2 options, right? We could try to find a fraction that equals this one with 100 in the denominator. That's method 1. So Spencer, what would you do? Could you divide by something even bigger? About 15. Divide by 15 and we end up with 100. But when we divide the denominator by 15, we must divide the numerator. Good. So, does 15 go evenly into 135? We're thinking. Okay, so we were estimating how many times could 15 go into 135, and somebody suggested 9, and it's true. It's 9. So there we go. We now have changed that fraction to have a 100 in the denominator. So what percent is this fraction?
9%.
This is 9%. If you want to now write it as a percent, we remove the 100 and we keep the numerator, right? Add the percent sign. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, there's a second method here that you need to listen carefully. Okay, so one method is find a fraction that is equivalent with a 100 in the denominator. The second method is, can you change 7/10 to a decimal?
Yes.
What is 7/10 as a decimal? 0.7. Okay, now can we change a decimal to a percent?
Yes.
And 0.7 is?
70%.
70%. decimal twice to the right. So of course you could just blow this up and call this multiply by 10, 70 over 100, and we still get 70% when we write it as a percent. Okay? You can change it to a decimal and then to a percent, or change it to a fraction and then to a percent. This is another one that would be easy to blow up. It looks a little different, so something happened with this calibration, but there it is, 49 over 50. So once again, you could easily blow this up, right? Olivia Shane, what would we do to blow this up? Good. And you would end up with what over 100? Okay, 98 over 100 is what percent? Good job, 98%. And last one, this actually says negative 3/4. So everyone change it, and then we will hear the answer together. Negative 3/4 as a percent is? Negative 75%. Okay, very good. That was the blowing up. This is just an opportunity to say you could divide the numerator by the denominator and change that decimal to a percent. Okay, so this fraction is not easy to blow up and find a denominator of 100. 8 doesn't evenly go into 100. So here's a case where we can use division. Fractions are division. So we're going to go ahead and do some long division this time. The top goes in the doghouse. You know what? This is negative, so I'm going to go down to the very bottom and write, I'm trying to find a negative percent. So I don't forget that detail. Okay? And then we put the top in the doghouse, right? And we go ahead and do our long division. When you don't see a decimal in the 1, what do? Spencer? Decimal, add a 0. And 8 goes into 10. 1. And we're going to need another 0, right? 8 goes into 20, how many times? Twice. And we're going to need another 0, so we keep carefully lining things up. And 8 goes into 40? 5 times. And now, look at that, we have no remainder. So we're going to change 0.125 to a percent, right? And let's say it together, the answer is? Good, 12.5%, negative 12.5%. Okay, try this one, please. Okay, so 528 over 400 is what percent? Well, 1.32. Who got 1.32%? That's correct. Okay, so you could just divide 528 by 400. Notice it's a little hint here. You could divide top and bottom. I'm sorry, I wrote the wrong number. By 4, and you would get 1/3.
Because you move the decimal.
When you take away, or when you're adding a percent sign, wait a minute, let's see. 4 goes into 528. Okay. Oh, maybe we have the wrong percent. It's not 1.32, is it? Sorry, that is what you said. Okay. Same topic really, but the final question here would be, can you order things from least to greatest? And so we're going to receive maybe a variety of things. So we might receive 3 different things: a percent, a fraction, and a decimal. And your job is to put them in order from least to greatest. So as you see, you want to change them all into the same form. And some people like to change them all to decimals. Lots of times I see that. Other people prefer to change them all to fractions. And a few people like to change them all to percent. So it's whichever form you like. whatever you think is easiest, change them to that form and then list them in their original form, least to greatest. So go ahead and try and then check your work. We already have 0.389. Can somebody put 41% in a decimal? What is that, Stuart? So that's really easy, right? And so we would only need to change 9/20 to a decimal. And does anyone have that? What is that? You know?
Yeah. 40.45.
Does anyone agree? 0.45? Okay. So when we have them all in the same form, now we just compare these decimals left to right. The greatest one is? 389. Or should we say the least one? I'm sorry. The least one is 0.389. And the middle one is? And the greatest is here. So now when we write them in their original form, okay?
Oh my God.
Okay, we'll see you after lunch.